Giving me this opportunity to present the Danish PRRS reduction strategy, which I am the manager of. My name is Nicolai Rosager. I'm a veterinarian and PhD. I work for the Danish Agriculture and Food Council, which is the Farmers Association in Denmark. It's all paid by the farmers. We have all different sectors of the agricultural industry, and I work in the pig sector. Yeah, okay. First of all, I will give a short presentation on the Danish pig sector, the pig industry, and the productivity that we have in Denmark. These figures is our latest figures from 2024. We have approximately 1,000 sow herds. We have approximately 3,000 grower to finisher herds, and then we have a small amount of sow to finisher herds. The average size of our herds has been increasing quite dramatically the last years. So now we have 900 sows per farm on average. The finishers, we have approximately 8,500 finishers produced per site on average. The total amount of sows we have in Denmark is 950,000, and we produce nearly 31 million heads. 14.5 million of these pigs are being finished in Denmark and slaughtered in Denmark, and 90% of the pork products is being exported out of the country. More than 16 million pigs is being exported live at 30 kilo, mainly for European market in Germany and Poland, where they're being finished. The key figures on the productivity that we have on average in Denmark, we have some good data because they have been collected generally for many farms. Our sow herds is now weaning more than 35 piglets per sow per year, and they have an average litter size of 18.5 live-born per liter. So a very high efficient sow herds that we have. When you see the grower and finisher phase, I'm not going to tell you all of the numbers, but just notice the very high average daily weight gain, nearly 500 grams for the growers, and more than 1 kilo per day of the finishers. At the same time, our mortality rate is below 4% in both of the stages. This is mainly driven by very good genetic work from our companies, but also by high management. And the reason for this is that the cost of production in Denmark is very high, salaries is high, feed prices is high. So if you want to be in business, you need to have a high productivity. Before I tell about the PRRS reduction strategy, I need to tell you some of the basic things that we are working on or working with in Denmark. These things has been in place for many years, and this is the basic, as we call it, on biosecurity precautions. First of all, we only have some hobby backyard farms. They don't produce any pigs. They are mainly like pets, maybe for kindergarten and stuff like that. They don't produce anything. We don't use swell feeding. It has been banned for many years, so we don't have the risk of introducing infections by swell feeding. And a very important thing, we don't import live pigs in Denmark. We do a lot of export, but we don't do import. So we can control the animal health in the system. On top of that, we have a registration, meaning that all herds have been registered centrally in a database with information about the owner, the address, the type of farm, and the size of the farm. And we also have registration of all movement in a central public database. So whenever a pig is moved between a farm or to an abattoir, it's being registered. We also have the SPS system, which has been in place since '71. So it's a system that has been tested in the field for many, many years that secures a very high biosecurity when we trade between the farms. And then on top of that, we also have a very big focus on truck washing, because we're exporting a lot of pigs to areas in Europe where we have diseases like African swine fever. So to protect us from introducing this to the country, we have a system of truck wash and disinfection by the border to Germany. So all the trucks is being washed and checked before they enter Denmark. Okay, a bit more about our SPS system, which is the backbone of our health control of the pigs. Like I said, it's been in place since '71. It was actually by inspiration from the US, They had a system there that some of our people went there to get inspiration from back in the 70s.
Okay.
It's a voluntary system. It's owned by the farmers themselves. It's paid by the farmers, and it's voluntary to participate in. It says SPF, meaning specific pathogen free, and we have 8 infectious swine diseases that they declare the serological status of, including PRRS type 1 and type 2.
Yes.
It's based on a serological surveillance, meaning they're doing blood samples in these farms once a year, and they're also looking for clinical signs by the veterinarian. It's a transparent system, so we have a database that is public. It's open, so the health status of all the herds that are participating in SPF is available online on a homepage. Everybody can look it up, and it's updated every day. And very shortly, the principle of the Danish SPF system is that the health status is declared for the connecting herd. That means if you buy pigs from a farm with a lower health status than your own, then you will get a lower status if you buy these pigs. We call it the backbone of Danish pig production. More than 80% of all our sow herds are an SPF sow herd, so you have a health status of all the piglets born from these farms. And also the gilt stock, they all have an SPF status, so when you buy in gilts for your farm, you will always know the health status of the gilts. Okay, so that was the background for all of it. Now we're starting on the talk about the PRRS reduction strategy. The whole reason to do this is that we have some very good conditions actually to perform this in Denmark. Like I said, we have the SPF system. We already trained this system. We tested it under field conditions, and we trust it. So we have something to build on, making this national program. We have access to PRRS-free breeding stock, which is essential when you want to do eradication of PRRS. You need to buy in some animals that are free of PRRS, and we have them available. And we have some very good data available that are publicly shared. So farmers are used to sharing data with each other, and we can utilize that. So we know where the pigs are, we know the health status, and we know the trade pattern every day in the Danish pig production. And then Denmark is basically a land of islands with a lot of water around. So we have a very nice geographically, meaning it's not at risk for the infections. When we talk about PRRS, we also have very good knowledge in our professional people, especially the veterinarians. PRRS has been in Denmark since '92, so a lot of the veterinarians has been working with control and elimination of PRRS in the herds for many years, controlling it at herd level. So we know what to do, and like I said, it's been around since the 90s, and we've been discussing national eradication ever since it came. But it went 30 years before we actually agreed upon doing something about it. So back in 2022, a collaboration of stakeholders had agreed upon this strategy. The strategy was launched by the pig producers, the Danish Agriculture and Food Council, which I'm representing, the farmers, the veterinarians, the Danish Veterinary Associations, the Danish veterinary authorities, the government was part of this as well, and also the processors, meaning the Association of Swine Slaughterhouses in Denmark. They all signed this document saying we want to do this together. So they all agreed upon this. The main purpose of this strategy is, in general, to improve the health of the Danish pigs, and thereby reducing the use of antibiotics and improving the health, and also prevent negative impact of the production, meaning making the farmers earn more money.
그럼 사람, 동물 다 이런 항생제 저감이 되고 또 농장은 퍼포먼스, 생산 성력이 향상됨으로 인해서 이득을 얻게 되는 게 이번 프로젝트의 목적입니다.
In the strategy, there's 2 targets that are formulated by the steering committee. First of all is the proportion of finishers being declared seronegative at slaughter. It's very important to notice is seronegative, meaning we have naive herds. We don't use vaccines in these herds. We need to be naive. We had, when we started, 25%, and the target is 75% here this year. A second target for this is that we need to have some sow herds being naive, or negative to produce these finishes. The proportion of seronegative sow herds was 58% when we started, and the target is getting up to 85% this year. And the way we wanted to achieve this was first of all to introduce new rules and regulations by our authorities. Like I said, they were part of this whole program, and this is what our authorities contributed. They make the rules for the farmers to follow. So the first phase was initiated in the summer of 2023. Very important thing, a mandatory testing of all herds serologically for PRRS. So instead of having a voluntary system as the SPF, now it was mandatory by the government issued rules saying all the farms need to be tested and need to have a serological status of PRRS. And if you have a farm that has a seropositive herd, or a farm that's seropositive, then the rule says that a herd veterinarian needs to visit this farm once every month to check for clinical sign of PRRS. If you see any sign of PRRS, the farmer and the veterinarians is obligated to take samples for PCR testing to figure out if there's virus, PRRS virus in that farm. And if you find a positive PCR, if you find virus, then the slaughter companies, which is also a part of this strategy, has made a system, meaning so you have a lower price of the pig for slaughter if it's PCR positive. So this is the main incentive. The farmers don't want this. They don't want to have a positive PCR, so they're going to go for a negative herd. So this is the motivation of the farmers. We need to set the same rules, and there's going to be an economic punishment if you don't do it. The next phase of rules is coming in soon. So the next one we're going to do is a mandatory virological surveillance. So instead of only testing for clinical signs, the next phase is going to be if you have a seropositive herd, you need to do PCR testing. And again, if that's a positive PCR, you get the punishment. So we're going to increase the pressure on the seropositive herds very soon by implementing the PCR testing. We're going to have limitation on movements of PRRS positive pigs in Denmark, meaning restriction on where you can go with these pigs. And then we're going to also have a differentiated monitoring system by regions, meaning if you have pigs in a region with PRRS, we're going to increase the surveillance, whereas we're going to lower the surveillance in the negative areas. So those were the rules that was implemented. Then I'm going to show what we have initiated to actually achieve this in the field. When we start testing the animals or all the farms for PRRS, we can start making maps showing the PRRS prevalence in the country. So here you have a map of Denmark. The red areas is highly prevalent areas because there's a lot of farms being positive. It's mainly to the western part of Denmark, whereas we have large areas here in the eastern part of Denmark where we have a low prevalence. So we made a strategy where we tried to push out PRRS from these low prevalent areas, and then in the highly prevalent areas we made some eradication programs by region. We appointed some local PRRS leaders, meaning local advisors, local veterinarians that knows the area. They got the responsibility to organize PRRS eradication in their local area. And then we had a financial model paying for this. This is the Pig Levy Fund, run by the Danish farmers. They pay for this, so it's all the whole program is paid by the farmers themselves. There's no governmental money, no subsidized. It's only farmers' money paying for the whole program. Going a bit deeper on the organization, a key word for us when we do this is ownership. So we need to have local ownership. I work in Copenhagen. There's a very long way to the farmers in the west, so we need to have a local ownership of the whole program to success. So here, the overall responsibility of the program is run by the Danish Agriculture and Food Council. We do the organization on national level. We develop the tools that we are using, the recommendations. At the regional level, we have a pig advisory consult that knows the area, got the responsibility, and within each region, this is actually this island here, this one here. You see the picture here? We have smaller districts where a local veterinary practitioner has the responsibility. Each dot is a farm. The size of the dot is the number of pigs in that farm. The color of the dot is the PRRS status, red being positive, yellow being under elimination, and green being negative. So how to achieve PRRS control in an island like this is a very difficult task. It takes a long time, and you need to have a lot of talks with farmers to try to collaborate for this, because they are very close, as you can see on the map. So we need to make sure that we're doing the right way. This is an overview on our recommendation, how to follow a regional or an area control program, elimination program for PRRS. It's not mandatory, it's just recommendations. So first of all, we need to gain an overview of the situation. So as we have here, we need to have the colors of every dot. We need to make sure that we know the PRRS status in all the herds before we even start talking about elimination. Then the next step is that we're trying to reduce the circulation of virus in these farms. The way they do it is they try to stabilize the sow herds and then produce negative weaners. That is the goal, because then we have control of the virus. The farmers agree on showing information on their diagnostic results to the rest of the farmers and veterinarians, so they can prove that I have a negative farm. So it's very important again, they need to share information. When we got this under control, then we can start emptying the finishing sites in the area, and then we declare the sow herds negative, and at that point we actually, if we got it all completed, would have a negative region. Another very important thing is for the veterinarians to agree to use the same type of classification for the sow herds on PRRS. This gave some discussions, but we agreed on this system. It's very much inspired by the American Association of Swine Veterinarians, who developed this system for sow herds classification of PRRS. So very shortly, we can have a category 1, meaning newly infected sow herds. They will be antibody positive and they will be PCR positive, meaning you got virus circulating in this sow herd. They are not under control. The next one here is type 2, category 2, which is what we call a stable sow herd. You still have the antibody positive, but when you do the testing for PCR, they will be negative. They will be weaning negative piglets. ELISA positive, PCR negative. The next one here is on elimination. That's when we don't have any virus anymore, and we put in gilts as sentinels, and we are testing them, and they are antibody negative. Then you can have a category 3 being yellow on the map. And then for last, when you do this twice with the sentinels, you can have a PCR negative sow herd, and ELISA negative, meaning category 4, free of PRRS. They are naive, seronegative herds. And very shortly, also showing you some of the digital tools that we're using. Like I said, we have very good data. We start using them actively, making some maps for the farmers. We call it a dynamic PRRS map. It's updated daily. It's based on real data, the CSR data, the information of the herd, and the health status is being shared. It's accessible for all key stakeholders in the industry for free. It's very important when you plan these local area programs that you have updated information on this, because you need to make decisions. And instead of guessing what's going on at the neighbor, you can look at the map and actually get the real information. And that is very important, so we don't guess, but we are basing our decision on informative, data-driven foundations. And this map here, we have a lot of different features and keep on development, and this is one of the key tools that we have for the farmers. Some examples on what we are sharing. This is information on just an example on a region. So we have aggregated information on the number of farms, the PRRS prevalence in that region, number of slaughter pigs and number of sows, but also the name of the local leader. So they know, if you want to know some information on the situation in this region, you should call this or write to this person. And we have that available for all of the regions. And on herd level, you can go and click on each of the dots, and then you get the information on each herd, like the number, the name of the owner, the address, the health status. So this is an SPF herd which is positive of MHIO and PRRS type 2. Here is information on the farm itself. It's an 800 sow herd producing weaners. They got 6,000 weaner sites. And those information is available for all the dots in the whole map. And another example here is when we start using the trait information. So every line here is representing a contact of pigs being moved. So there's a farm here and it delivers to the farm down here. We got information on the day, the number of pigs, and the health status of these pigs.
Did you already explain what the color means?
Well, the red colors is actually breeding animals like gilts, and the blue one is the grower filters. So, and this is just examples on when we have these public available data that we are agreeing upon sharing, then we can put them into maps and start using them actively in the field. So here, finishing off is just to give you the update on what we actually have achieved on the reduction. This table here shows it all. This is the national serological status of all Danish herds. When we started back in 2022, more than 50% of the herds, we didn't have any PRRS status. We had 32% that were negative and 50% positive. Then we start testing because it got mandatory, so the number of unknown farms went down and actually are gone because they are all being tested. And so you can see that back in 2024 we nearly got information on all the herds. At that time 68% negative, nearly 28% positive. And the last 2 years we have been improving the status with the same velocity each year. So we increased the percentage of negative farms by 5% each year, and we are reducing the positive percentage by approximately 3% each year. So we are progressing, we are reducing, but the speed of the reduction is, you can say, moderate, and I think it's an important lesson is that this takes time. We can put in a lot of rules, a lot of recommendations, and we can start moving the farmers, but you need to be patient because some of them are difficult to motivate and some areas is very difficult to solve, so that takes a lot of time. When you look at the targets that was mentioned in the strategy, here are the figures. So you see a very nice improvement in both of their targets. When we see the latest figures this is actually from February this year, we're now at nearly 73% of our finishers being seronegative, very close to our target of 75%, whereas our sow herds now getting closer to 77%, and we still have some way to reach the goal of 85%. Zooming in on our sow herds, just to show you that we still have PRRS infection going on in Denmark. The red columns is the accumulated number of sow herds being infected last year, going from a negative to a positive status. It was 23 last year. In the same period, we have the green columns, which is sow herds being eliminated of PRRS, going from a positive to a negative status. And this column is 3 times higher than the red one. And that's very important because as long as we're doing this, then we go the right way. Very important figure we have is the overall risk of being infected by PRRS for a sow herd in Denmark. What we do is we take the number of sow herds being negative in the start of the year, and then we see how many of these farms being infected by that year. And then you can calculate the risk of infection for a sow herd on a national level. Before our program, we had an overall risk. So that was the overall risk before the program. That was the risk that the farmers was living with every day. And then the program was initiated here. And you can see how we have been able to reduce the overall risk of being infected dramatically. So now we're below 2.5% for the risk for last year. And that is very important to show the farmers when you need to motivate them. They have to trust, if I eliminate PRRS in my herd, the risk of being infected is low. So you need to show that you actually can promise the farmer that this is a good idea. And just to show you, we can actually see it on the map that things is moving the right way. This map here was last New Year, 25. You see the red and brown regions, and this is how the map looks like a year later. So you see some of these areas is now going green, meaning the PRRS prevalence in very large areas of Denmark is coming down. So we can actually see the progress of the reduction on the map now. A very big success story that I always remember to tell. Out here in the Baltic Sea, we have an island. It's a Danish island. It's called Bornholm. It has 100 herds in total. Has its own slaughterhouse. Has a pretty big production. I think it's 500,000 finishers a year in this island. They were very eager to do something about it, so they made a plan themselves, and we came and helped them. You look at the map before we started. A lot of the dots was red and very close here in this region. And a lot of them was also grey, meaning unknown status. We started testing the farms, and at that time, the percentage of PRRS in the region was more than 40%. Then they start doing the eradication programs down here. You can see they go yellow, and then February last year, all of them got declared negative. So this is an example. If the farmers is standing together and collaborating, you can achieve PRRS freedom in a region with a lot of farms that are very close located if they work together. So to sum a bit up what we learned the last 4 years of this strategy, it's been going on since 22, and we see a very good progress. We're getting close to 75% of all our herds having a negative serological status of PRRS. We have large regions of Denmark going free of PRRS. We have an organization that we believe in is working. We focus on the local anchoring. And we can also show that these programs that we are running with the low, close and homogenized system and eradication models is actually working. We can also prove, I didn't bring the figures, but the pigs that are PRRS free, we can show that it has a higher productivity and actually also a lower antibiotic consumption. Yeah. And for these area control programs to be achieved, you need to really have attention to the trade of pigs. That's the key, to make sure that you know what type of pigs coming into your area. And if you want to have success, you need to have local support from all the farmers. If one farmer in a region doesn't want to do anything, he can lock the whole region down and nothing going to happen. So everybody needs to be motivated to achieve freedom on a regional level. So the next steps here, finally, what we're going to be working on. This is the map of Denmark now with all the different counties. That's at the administrative level that we have in Denmark is counties, again colored by the PRRS prevalence. And this is the next step that we're going to be working on county level for PRRS status. So you see the light green here is actually counties with no PRRS, and now we're going to have rules that we can declare them negative for each of them, and then we can actually achieve freedom of all of Denmark just going by county by county. So we're going to have an official PRRS declaration on county level by law. Then we're going to have limitation of movement of these PRRS positive piglets, meaning if you have an official negative status on county level, it would be illegal to move positive animals into this county. Then we're going to increase the monitoring system, meaning we're going to have more monitoring in the PRRS positive regions, and we're going to have this biological status in all the seropositive herds. And then we're going to have some action plans in the case that a farm is going to be infected in some of these areas that are negative. Then there's going to be a rule on how to eliminate PRRS from that farm as fast as possible. Okay, so this is my final slide, the summary. I will say that we have a full steam ahead in our reduction program. The whole country is organized in local programs, and the whole industry, the authorities, the veterinarians, the whole sector is involved in this.
선물. 예, 그래서 지금 이 PRRS 저감 정책에 진짜 정부, 지역 수의사
We have the results and experience for the first 4 years, and it's actually showing that we can achieve reduction. We are very proud of these results, but we are also aware that the last part is going to be the hardest. We have this awareness of the trade of pigs. We trust we have the system, but we keep on improving the rules to make sure that we're not going to have pigs trade that is going to interfere with the reduction program. And then, of course, like I said, the local support is very important, and we always try to figure out how to motivate everybody in the region. And the way we are going to increase the motivation is actually with these new rules. We're trying to increase incentive for eradication of PRRS, but also strengthen the monitoring to make sure that we actually know which of the farms has been infected more fast, because we are doing more monitoring than we do right now. Well, the incentive here is actually with more PCR testing, but also with the movement, because if you have positive pigs,
less diagnostic,
yeah,
less farm visiting. 돈이나 이런 걸 줄여드렸더니
but also actually the price of the pig is being influenced here. It's less attractive to sell positive pigs. And just for the last thing, this is a reduction strategy. It's not elimination strategy, but I'm sure that the people behind this strategy, they were going to formulate a national eradication if we achieve our goals, and maybe we can achieve a full country free of PRRS in 2030. Who knows, but we are off to a very good start. Okay, thank you for your attention.